My internet's acting up. Back in chapter 3, verse 7 of the book of Daniel, page 586 in the scripture. So as soon as all the people heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, and all kinds of instruments, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and did obeisance to the gold image that sovereign Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Thereupon, at that time, certain Kasdim came forward and accused the Yehudim. They spoke and said to sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, O sovereign, live forever. You, O sovereign, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments shall fall down and do obeisance to the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and do obeisance is thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. There are certain Yehudim who you have set over the work of the province of Babel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O sovereign, pay no heed to you. They do not serve your Elohim, and they are not doing obeisance to the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and wrath, gave orders to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the sovereign. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my Elohim, and you do not do obeisance to the gold image which I have set up? Now if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of instruments, that you fall down and do obeisance to the image which I have made good. But if you do not do obeisance, you are immediately thrown into the midst of a burning furnace of fire. And who is the Allah who does deliver you from my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the sovereign, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. For if so, our Allah, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning furnace of fire and from your hand, O sovereign. He does deliver. But if not, let it be known to you, O sovereign, that we do not serve your Elohim, nor do we do obeisance to the gold image which you have set up. Hello. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath at the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He responded and gave orders that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usual to heat. English. And he commanded some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the burning furnace of fire. So these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, and their turbans, and their other garments, and were thrown into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. So these men, thereupon, because the sovereign's order was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning furnace of fire. The sovereign, Nebuchadnezzar, was amazed and stood up in haste and spoke and said to his counselors, Did we not throw 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the sovereign, Certainly, O sovereign. He answered and said, Look, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the son of Elohim. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning furnace of fire. He spoke and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High Allah, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors and sovereigns' counselors, gone. And the viceroys, the nobles, and the governors, and the sovereign's counselors gathered together, seeing these men on whose bodies the fire had no power, and the hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments changed, nor did the smell of fire come on them. Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, Blessed be the Allah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his messenger and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and changed the sovereign's orders, and gave up their bodies that they should not serve nor do obeisance to any Allah except their own Allah. Therefore I make a decree that whoever of any people, nation, or language who speaks any wrong against the Allah of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, his limbs shall be taken and his house made a dunghill, because there is no other Allah who is able to deliver like this. Then the sovereign promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babel. Nebuchadnezzar the sovereign, to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwelled in all the earth, peace be increased to you. I thought it good to declare the signs and wonders which the Most High Allah has worked for me. How great are his signs, and how mighty his wonders. His reign is everlasting reign, and his rulership is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house, and prospering in my palace. I saw a dream, and it frightened me, and the thoughts on my bed and the visions of my head alarmed me. So I issued a decree to bring in all the wise ones of Babel before me to make known to me the interpretation of the dream. So the magicians, the astrologers, the Chazdim, and the diviners came in, and I related the dream to them, but its interpretation they did not make known to me. And at last Daniel, whose name is Belshazzar, according to the name of my Allah, came before me. In him is the spirit of the set-apart Elohim. So I related the dream to him, saying, Belshazzar, chief of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the set-apart Elohim is in you, and no secret is too difficult for you, explain to me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and its interpretation. Now visions of my head on my bed were these. I looked and saw a tree in the midst of the earth, and its height great. The tree became great and strong, and its height reached to the heavens, and it was visible to the ends of the earth. Its leaves were lovely, and its fruit plenty, and in it was food for all. The beasts of the field found shade under it. The birds of the heavens dwelt in its branches, and all flesh was fed from it. In the visions of my head on my bed, I looked and saw a watcher, even a set-apart one coming down from the heavens. He cried aloud and said this, Hew down the tree and cut off its branches, strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the beasts flee from under it, and the birds from its branches. But leave the stump of its roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and bronze, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of the heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts on the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, let him be given the heart of a beast, and 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the command by the word of the set-apart ones, so that the living know the Most High is ruler in the reigns of men, and gives it to whoever he wishes, and sets over it the lowest of men. This dream have I seen, I, sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, and you, Belshazzar, reveal its interpretation, since all the wise ones of my reign are unable to make known to me the interpretation. But you are able, for the spirit of the set-apart Elohim is in you. Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was stunned for a short time, and his thoughts alarmed him. The sovereign responded and said, Belshazzar, do not let the dream or its interpretation alarm you. Belshazzar answered and said, My master, the dream is to those who hate you, and its interpretation to your enemies. The tree you saw, which became great and strong, whose height reached to the heavens and was visible to all the earth, whose leaves were lovely and its fruit plenty, and in it was food for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and on whose branches the birds of the heavens sat. It is you, O sovereign, for you have become great and strong, and your greatness has grown. and has reached to the heavens, and your rulership to the end of the earth. And as the sovereign saw a watcher, even a set apart one, coming down from the heavens, and he said, hew down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump of the roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and bronze in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of the heavens, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O sovereign, and this is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my master the sovereign, that you are going to be driven away from men, and your dwelling be with the beasts of the field, and you be given grass to eat like oxen, and you be wetted with the dew of the heavens, and 7 times pass over you, till you know that the Most High is ruler in the reign of men, and that he gives it to whomever he wishes. And they that gave the command to leave the stump of its roots of the tree, your reign remains yours, from the time you come to know that the heavens are ruling. Therefore, O sovereign, let my counsel be acceptable to you, and break off your sins by righteousness, and your crookedness by showing favor to the poor, your prosperity might be extended. All this came upon sovereign Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of the 12 months, he was walking about the palace of the reign of Babel. The sovereign spoke and said, is not this great Babel, which I myself have built, for the house of the reign by the might of my power and for the esteem of my splendor? The word was still in the sovereign's mouth when a voice fell from the heavens. Sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the reign has been taken away from you, and you are driven away from men, and your dwelling is to be with the beasts of the field. You are given grass to eat like oxen, and 7 seasons shall pass over you, until you know that the Most High is ruler in all the reign of men, and he gives it to whomever he wishes. In that hour the word was executed on Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and he ate grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to the heavens, and my understanding returned to me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and made him great who lives forever, whose rule is an everlasting rule, and his reign is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are of no account, and he does as he wishes with the host of the heavens and among the inhabitants of the earth. And there is none to strike against his hand or say to him, what have you done? At the same time my understanding returned to me, and for the preciousness of my reign, my esteem and splendor were returning to me, and my counselors and nobles sought me out, and I was reestablished to my reign, and excellent greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, am praising and exalting and esteeming the sovereign of the heavens, for all his works are truth, and his ways right, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble. Belshazzar, the sovereign, made a great feast for 1,000 of his great men, and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While tasting the wine, Belshazzar gave orders to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the Hekal, which had been in Jerusalem, that the sovereign and his great men, his wives, and his concubines could drink from them. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the Hekal of the house of Allah, which had been in Jerusalem, and the sovereign and his great men, his wives, and his concubines drank out of them. They drank wine and praised the Elohim of gold and of silver, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone. At that moment, the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the sovereign's palace. And the sovereign saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the sovereign's color changed, and his thoughts alarmed him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened, and his knees knocked against each other. The sovereign called loudly to bring in the astrologers, the Chazdim, and the diviners. The sovereign spoke and said to the wise ones of Babel, whoever reads this writing and shows me its interpretation is robed in purple and has a chain of gold around his neck, and shall be the third ruler of the reign. So all the sovereign's wise ones came, but they were unable to read the writing or to make known its interpretation to the sovereign. Then sovereign Belteshazzar was greatly alarmed, and his color changed, and his great men were puzzled. The sovereigness, because of the words of the sovereign and his great men, came to the banquet hall. And the sovereigness spoke and said, O sovereign, live forever. Do not let your thoughts alarm you, nor let your color change. There is a man in your reign, in whom is the spirit of the set-apart Elohim. And in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the Elohim, were found in him. And sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, your father the sovereign, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Chazdim, and diviners, because an excellent spirit, knowledge, and understanding, interpreting dreams and explaining riddles and solving difficult problems were found in this Daniel, whom the sovereign named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and let him show the interpretation. So Daniel was brought in before the sovereign, and sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, Are you that Daniel, who is the one of the sons of the exile from Yehuda, from whom my father the sovereign brought from Yehuda? I have heard of you, that the spirit of Elohim is in you, the light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you, and the wise ones, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation, but they were unable to show the interpretation of the word. And I myself have heard of you, that you are able to give interpretations and to solve difficult problems. Now, if you are able to read the writing and make known its interpretation to me, you are to be robed in purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the reign. Then Daniel answered and said before the sovereign, Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I shall read the writing to the sovereign, and make known the interpretation to him. O sovereign, the Most High Allah gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a reign, and greatness, and preciousness, and esteem. And because of the greatness which he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished he killed, and whomever he wished he kept alive, and whomever he wished he raised up, and whomever he wished he made low. But when his heart was lifted up, and his spirit was so strong as to act proudly, he was put down from his throne of reign, and they took his preciousness from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was like the wild donkeys. He was given grass to eat like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till he knew that the Most High Allah is ruler in the reign of men, and he sets up over it whomever he wishes. And you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this, and you have lifted yourself up against the master of the heavens, and they brought before you the vessels of his house, and you and your great men, your wives and your concubines, have been drinking wine from them, and you have praised the Elohim of silver and of gold, of bronze, of iron, of wood, and of stone, which neither see nor hear nor know, but the Allah who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not made great. Then the part of the hand was sent from him, and this writing was inscribed. And this is the writing that was inscribed: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Aparshin. This is the interpretation of each word. Mene, Allah has numbered your reign and put an end to it. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found lacking. Perez, your reign has been divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then Belshazzar gave orders, and they robed Daniel in purple, and put a chain of gold around his neck. And they proclaimed concerning him that he is the third ruler in the reign. In that night Belshazzar, sovereign of the Chazdim, was killed, and Darius the Medi took over the reign, being about 62 years old. It pleased Darius to appoint over the reign 120 viceroys to be over all the reign, and over them 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, so that these viceroys should give account to them, and the sovereign suffer no loss. Then this Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and viceroys, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the sovereign planned to appoint him over all the reign. Then the governors and viceroys sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the reign, but they were unable to find occasion or corruption, because he was steadfast, and no negligence or corruption was found in him. Then these men said, We shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, unless we find it against him concerning the law of his Allah. Then these governors and viceroys tumultuously gathered before the sovereign, and said this to him, Sovereign Darawish, live forever. All the governors of the reigns, the nobles and viceroys, the counselors and advisers have consulted together to establish a royal decree, and to make a strong interdict that whoever petitions any Allah or man for 30 days except you, O sovereign, is thrown into the den of lions. Now, O sovereign, establish the interdict and sign the writing, so that it is not to be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which does not pass away. So sovereign Darawish signed the written interdict. And Daniel, when he knew that the writing was signed, went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed, and gave thanks before his Allah as he had done before. Then these men tumultuously gathered and found Daniel praying and entreating before his Allah. Then they approached the sovereign and spoke concerning the sovereign's interdict. Have you not signed an interdict that every man who petitions any Allah or man within 30 days except you, O sovereign, is thrown into the den of lions? The sovereign answered and said, The word is certain, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not pass away. Then they answered and said before the sovereign, Daniel, who is one of the sons of exile from Yehuda, pays no heed to you, O sovereign, nor for the interdict that you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day. Then the sovereign, when he heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men tumultuously gathered before the sovereign, and said to the sovereign, Know, O sovereign, that it is the law of the Medes and Persians that any interdict or decree which the sovereign establishes is not to be changed. Then the sovereign gave orders, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the den of lions. But the sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, Your Allah, whom you serve continually, he himself delivers you. And a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den. And the sovereign sealed it with his own signet, and with the signets of his great men, that the situation concerning Daniel might not be changed. And the sovereign went to his palace, and spent the night fasting, and no entertainment was brought before him, and his sleep fled from him. Then the sovereign rose up very early in the morning, and hurried to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he called with a grieved voice to Daniel. The sovereign spoke and said to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living Allah, has your Allah, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel said to the sovereign, O sovereign, live forever. My Allah has sent his messenger, and has shut the lions' mouths, and they did not harm me, because I was found innocent before him, and also before you, O sovereign, I have done no harm. Then the sovereign was very glad, and gave orders that Daniel be taken up out of the den. And Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no harm was found on him, because he trusted in his Allah. And the sovereign gave orders, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they threw them, their children, and their wives into the den of lions. And the lions overpowered them, and broke all their bones in pieces before they reached the floor of the den. Then sovereign Darawish wrote to all the peoples, nations, and languages that dwell on the earth, Peace be increased to you. From before me is made a decree that throughout every rule of my reign men are to tremble and fear before the Allah of Daniel, for he is the living Allah, and steadfast forever. And his reign is one which is not destroyed, and his rule is unto the end. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth, for he has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. And this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius, in the reign of Koresh the Persian. The first year of Belshazzar, sovereign of Babel, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head on his bed. Then he wrote down the dream, giving a summary of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I was looking in my vision by night and saw the four winds of the heavens stirring up the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, different from one another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. And I was looking until its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and it was given a man's heart. And see, another beast, a second, like a bear, and it was raised up on one side, and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And they said this to it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I looked and saw another like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and rule was given to it. After this I looked in the night visions and saw a 4th beast, fearsome and burly, exceedingly strong, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the rest with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I was thinking about the horns, then saw another horn, a little one, coming up among them, and 3 of the first horns were plucked out by the roots before it, and see, eyes like the eyes of man were in its horn, and a mouth speaking great words. I was looking until thrones were set up, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like clean wool. His throne was flames of fire, its wheels burning fire. A stream of fire was flowing and coming forth from his presence, and 1,000 thousands served him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judge was seated, and the books were opened. I was looking, then because of the sound of the great words which the horn was speaking, I was looking until the beast was killed, and its body destroyed and given to the burning fire. And the rest of the beasts had their rule taken away, but a lengthening of life was given to them for a season and a time. I was looking in the night visions, and saw one like the son of Enosh, coming with the clouds of the heavens. And he came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And to him was given rulership and preciousness, and a reign that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His rule is an everlasting rule which shall not pass away, and his reign that which shall not be destroyed. As for me, Daniel, my spirit was pierced within my body, and the visions of my head alarmed me. I drew near to one of those who stood by and asked him the certainty of all this. And he spoke to me and made known to me the interpretation of the matters. These great beasts which are 4 sovereigns which rise up from the earth. Then the set apart ones of the Most High shall receive the reign, and possess the reign forever, even forever and ever. Then I desired for certainty concerning the 4th beast, which was different from all the others, very fearsome, with its teeth of iron, its nails of bronze, which devoured, crushed, and trampled down the rest with its feet. And concerning the 10 horns that were on its head, and of the other horn that came up, before which 3 fell, this horn which had eyes and a mouth which spoke great words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows. It was looking, and this horn was fighting against the set apart ones, and was prevailing against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and right ruling was given to the set apart ones of the Most High. And the time came, and the set apart ones took possession of the reign. This is what he said: The 4th beast is the 4th reign on earth, which is different from all other reigns, and it devours all the earth, tramples it down, and crushes it. And the 10 horns are 10 sovereigns from its reign. They shall rise, and another shall rise after them, and it is different from the first ones, and it humbles 3 sovereigns, and it speaks words against the Most High, and it wears out the set apart ones of the Most High, and it intends to change appointed times and law, and they are given into its hand for a time, and times and a half time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away its rule to cut off and destroy until the end. And the reign and the rulership and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people. And the set apart ones of the Most High, his reign is an everlasting reign. And all rulerships shall serve and obey him. This is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts greatly alarmed me, and my color changed, and I kept the matter in my heart. In the 3rd year of the reign of Belshazzar, the sovereign, a vision appeared to me, Daniel, after the one that appeared to me the first time. And I looked in the vision, and it came to be while I was looking that I was in the citadel of Shushan, which is in the province of Elam. And I looked in the vision, and I was by the river Ulai. And I lifted my eyes and looked, and saw a ram standing beside the river, and it had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, and the one was higher than the other, and the higher one came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast could stand before him, and there was no one to deliver from his hand, while he did as he pleased and became great. And I was observing and saw a male goat come from the west over the surface of all the earth, without touching the ground, and the goat had a conspicuous horn between its eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing beside the river, and ran at him in the rage of his power. And I saw him come close to the ram, and as he became embittered against him, and struck the ram, and broke his 2 horns, and there was no power in the ram to withstand him, but he threw him down to the ground and trampled on him. And there was no one to deliver the ram from his hand. And the male goat became very great, but when he was strong, the large horn was broken, and in place of it, 4 conspicuous ones came up toward the 4 winds of the heavens. And from one of them came a little horn, which became exceedingly great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the splendid land. And it became great up to the host of the heavens. And it caused some of the host and some of the stars to fall to the earth, and trampled them down. It even exalted itself as high as the prince of the host. And it took that which is continual away from him, and threw down the foundation of his set apart place. And because of the transgression, an army was given over to the horn, to oppose that which is continual. And it threw the truth down to the ground, and it acted and prospered. Then I heard a certain set apart one speaking, and another set apart one said to that certain one who was speaking, Till when is the vision concerning that which is continual, and the transgression that lays waste to make both the set apart place and the host to be trampled underfoot? And he said to me, For 2,300 nights, then that which is set apart shall be made right. And it came to be, when I, Daniel, had seen the vision, that I sought understanding, and see, before me stood one having the appearance of a mighty man. And I heard a man's voice between the hands of the Ulai, the banks of the Ulai, who called and said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. He then came near where I stood, and when he came, I feared, and I fell on my face. But he said to me, Understand, son of man, for the vision is for the time of the end. And he was speaking with me. I fell stunned upon my face to the ground. But he touched me, and made me stand up straight, and said, Look, I am making known to you what shall take place in the latter time of the wrath, for all the appointed time shall be the end. The ram which you saw having 2 horns were the sovereigns of Media and Persia, and the male goat is the sovereign of Greece. and the larger horn between its eyes is the first sovereign. And that it was broken, and four stood up in its place, are four rulerships arising out of that nation, but not in its power. In the latter time of their rule, when the transgressors have filled up their measure, a sovereign, fierce of face, and skilled at intrigues shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy incredibly, and shall prosper and thrive and destroy mighty men and the set apart people. And through his skill he shall make deceit prosper in his hand, and hold himself to be great in his heart, and destroy many who are at ease, and even stand against the prince of princes. Yet without hand he shall be broken. And what was said in the vision of the evening and morning is truth, and hide the vision, for it is after many days. And I, Daniel, was stricken and became sick for days. Then I rose up and went about the sovereign's work, and I was amazed at the vision, but there was no understanding. In the first year of Darius the son of Asheroth, the seed of Medes, who was set up as the sovereign over the reign of the Chasdim, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, observed from the scriptures the number of the years according to the word of Yahweh given to Yirmiah the prophet, for the completion of the wastes of Jerusalem would be 70 years. So I set my face towards Yahweh the Elohim to seek by prayer and supplication with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed to Yahweh my Elohim, and I made confession and said, O Yahweh, great and awesome El, guarding the covenant and the loving commitment to those who love him and to those who guard his commands, we have sinned and did crookedness and did wrong and rebelled to turn aside from your commands and from your right rulings. And we have not listened to your servants, the prophets, who spoke in your name to our sovereigns, our heads and our fathers, to all the people of the land. O Yahweh, to you is the righteousness, and to us is the shame of face, as it is this day. To the men of Yehuda, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and all Israel, those near and those far off, in the lands to which you have driven them because of their trespass, which they have trespassed against you. O Master, to us is the shame of face, to our sovereigns, to our heads, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against you. To Yahweh our Elohim are the compassions and forgivenesses, for we have rebelled against him, and we have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh our Elohim to walk in his Torah, which he set before us through his servants the prophets. And all Israel have transgressed your Torah, and turned aside, so as not to obey your voice. So the curse and the oath written in the Torah of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, have been poured out on us, for we have sinned against him. And he has confirmed his words which he spoke against us and against our rulers who judged us, by bringing upon us great evil. For under all the heavens there has not been done like what has done to Jerusalem. And it is written in the Torah of Moshe, all this evil has come upon us, and we have not entreated the face of Yahweh our Elohim to turn back from our crookedness and to study your truth. Hence Yahweh has watched over the evil and has brought it upon us. For Yahweh our Elohim is righteous in all the works which he has done, but we have not obeyed his voice. And now, O Yahweh our Elohim, who brought our people out of the land of Mitzrayim with a strong hand, and made yourself a name, as it is this day, we have sinned, we have done wrong. O Yahweh, according to all your righteousness, I pray, let your displeasure and your wrath be turned away from your city, Jerusalem, your set-apart mountain. For because of our sins, and because of the crookedness of our fathers, Jerusalem and your people have become a reproach to all those around us. And now, our Elohim, hear the prayer of your servant, and his supplications, and for the sake of Yahweh cause your face to shine on your set-apart place, which is laid waste. O my Elohim, incline your ear and hear. Open your eyes and see our wastes, and the city which is called by your name. For we do not present our supplications before you because of your righteous deeds, but because of your great compassions. O Yahweh, hear. O Yahweh, forgive. O Yahweh, listen and act. Do not delay for your own sake, my Elohim, for your city and your people are called by your name. And while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Yahweh my Elohim for the set apart mountain of my Elohim, while I was still speaking in prayer, the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, came close to me in swift flight about the time of the evening offering. And he made me understand and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I have now come forth to make you wise concerning understanding. At the beginning of your supplications a word went out, and I have come to make it known, for you are greatly appreciated. So consider the word and understanding the vision. 70 weeks are decreed for your people and for your set apart city to put an end to the transgression and to seal up sins and to cover crookedness and to bring an everlasting righteousness and to seal up vision and profit and to anoint the most set apart. Know then and understand from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah, the Prince, is 7 weeks and 62 weeks, it shall be built again, with streets and a trench, but in times of affliction. After the 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, and have not, and the people of a coming prince shall destroy the city and the set apart place, and the end of it is with a flood. And wastes are decreed and fighting until the end. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. And in the middle of the week he shall put an end to slaughtering and meal offering. And on the wing of abominations he shall lay waste, even until the complete end. And that which is decreed is poured out on the one who lays waste. In the 3rd year of Koresh, sovereign of Persia, a word was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belshazzar, and the word was true, and the conflict great. And he understood the word, and had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 weeks of days. I did not eat desirable food, and meat and wine did not come into my mouth, and I did not anoint myself at all till the completion of 3 weeks of days. And on the 24th day of the first new moon, while I was by the side of the great river, that is Hiddekel, then I lifted my eyes and looked and saw a certain man dressed in linen, whose loins were girded with gold of Uphaz, and his body was like beryl, and his face like the appearance of lightning, and his eyes like torches of fire, and his arms and feet like polished bronze in appearance, and the sound of his words like the sound of a crowd. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men who were with me did not see the vision, but a great trembling fell upon them, and they ran away to hide themselves. So I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my comeliness was destroyed in me, and I retained no strength. But I heard the sound of his words, and while I heard the sound of his words, I was stunned, lying with my face to the ground. And see, a hand touched me, and set me trembling on my knees, and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly appreciated, understand the words that I speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. And while he was speaking this word to me, I stood trembling, and he said to me, do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your Elohim, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the head of the rule of Persia withstood me 21 days, and see, Michael, one of the chief heads, came to help me, for I had been left alone there with the sovereign of Persia. And I have come to make you understand what is to befall your people in the latter days, for the vision is yet for days to come. And when he had spoken such words to me, I turned my face toward the ground and kept silent. And see, one who looked like the sons of men touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and spoke and said to him who stood before me, My master, because of the vision I have been seized with pains, and I have retained no strength. So how was this servant of my master able to speak with you, my master? As for me, no strength remains in me now, nor is any breath left in me. And again the one who looked like a man touched me and strengthened me. And he said, Do not fear, O man, greatly appreciated. Peace be to you. Be strong now, be strong. So when he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, Let my master speak, for you have strengthened me. And he said, Do you know why I have come to you? And now I return to fight with the head of Persia. And when I have left, see, the head of Greece shall come. But let me declare to you what is written in the scripture of truth. And there is not one strengthening himself with me concerning these, except Michael, your head. And in the first year of Darius the Mede, I myself stood up to support and protect him. And now I declare the truth to you. See, 3 more sovereigns are to arise in Persia, and the 4th is to become far richer than all of them. And by his power, through his riches, he stirs up all against the rulership of Greece. And a mighty sovereign shall arise, and he shall rule with great authority and do as he pleases. But when he has arisen, his rule shall be broken up and divided toward the 4 winds of the heavens, but not among his descendants, nor according to his authority which he ruled. Because his rule shall be uprooted, even for others besides these. And a sovereign of the south shall become strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong over him, and shall rule. His rule shall be a great rule. And at the end of years they shall join themselves together, and the daughter of the sovereign of the south shall come to the sovereign of the north to make an alliance. But she shall not retain the strength of her power, nor would he or his power stand. And she shall be given up with those who brought her, and he who brought her forth, and he who supported her in those times. But from a branch of her roots one shall arise in his place, and he shall come into the defense, and come into the stronghold of the sovereign of the north, and shall set against them, and shall prevail. And also their mighty ones with their princes and their precious utensils of silver and gold he shall seize, and bring to Mitzrayim. And he shall stand more years than the sovereign of the north. Then he shall enter the reign of the sovereign of the south, but shall return to his own land. But his sons shall stir themselves up, and assemble a great army, and he shall certainly come and overthrow and pass through, then return to his stronghold and be stirred up. Then the sovereigns of the south shall be enraged, and go out to fight with him, with the sovereign of the north, who shall raise a large army. But the army shall be given into the hand of his enemy, and he shall capture the army, his heart being exalted, and he shall cause tens of thousands to fall, but not prevail. And the sovereign of the north shall return and raise an army greater than the former, and certainly come at the end of some years, with a great army and much supplies. And in those times many shall rise up against the sovereign of the south, while some violent ones among your people exalt themselves to establish this vision, but they shall stumble. Then the sovereign of the north shall come in and build a siege mound, and capture a city of strongholds. And the arms of the south shall not stand, nor his choice people, for there is no strength to stand. So his opponent shall do as he pleases, with no one standing against him, and stand in the splendid land with the destruction in his hand. And he shall set his face to enter with the strength of his entire rule, and make an alliance with him. And he shall do so, and give him the daughter of women to corrupt her. But she shall not stand, neither be for him. Then she shall return his face to the coastlands and capture many. But a ruler shall bring the reproach against him to an end, and with the reproach removed he shall turn back on him. Then he shall turn his face toward the strongholds of his own land, but shall stumble and fall and not be found. And in his place one shall stand up who imposes taxes on the adorned city of the rule, but within a few days he is destroyed, but not in wrath or in battle. And in his place shall rise despised one, to whom they shall not give the excellency of the rule, but he shall come in peaceably, and seize the rule by flatteries. And the arms of the flood shall be swept away from before him, and be broken, and also the prince of the covenant. And after they joined him, he shall work deceit, and shall come up and become strong with a small nation. He shall enter peaceably, even into the richest places of the province, and do with what his fathers have not done, nor his forefathers, distribute among them plunder and spoil and supplies, and devise his plots against the strongholds, but only for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his heart against the sovereign of the south with a great army, and the sovereign of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, but not stand, for they shall devise plots against him. And those who have been eating his food shall destroy him, and his army be swept away, and many fall down slain. And both these sovereigns' hearts are to do evil and speak lies at the same tables, but not prosper, for the end is still an appointed time. Then he shall return to his land with much supplies, and his heart be against the set apart covenant. And he shall act, and shall return to his land. At the appointed time he shall return and go toward the south, but it shall not be like the former or the latter. For ships from Kittim shall come against him, and he shall lose heart, and shall return in rage against the set apart covenant, and shall act, and shall return and consider those who forsake the set apart covenant. And strong ones shall arise from him, and profane the set apart place, and the stronghold, and shall take away that which is continual, and set up the abomination that lays waste. And by flatteries he shall profane those who do wrong against the covenant. But the people who know their Elohim shall be strong, and shall act. And those of the people who have insight shall give understanding to many. And they shall stumble by sword, and flame by captivity and plundering for days. And when they stumble, they shall be helped, a little help, but many shall join them by flatteries. And some of those who have insight shall stumble, to refine them, and to cleanse them, and to make them white, until the time of the end, for it is still an appointed time. And the sovereign shall do as he pleases, and exalt himself, and show himself to be great above every mighty one, and speak incredible matters against the El of mighty ones, and shall prosper until the wrath has been accomplished, for what has been decreed shall be done, and have no regard for the mighty ones of his fathers, nor for the desire of women, nor have regard for any mighty one, but exalt himself above them all. But in his place he shall give esteem to a mighty one of strongholds, and to a mighty one which his fathers did not know. He shall give esteem with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly gifts, and he shall act against the strongest strongholds with a foreign mighty one, which he shall acknowledge. He shall increase in esteem, and cause them to rule over many, and divide the land for gain. At the time of the end, the sovereign of the south shall push him, and the sovereign of the north rush against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, and with horsemen, and with many ships. And he shall enter the lands, and shall overflow and pass over. and shall enter the splendid land, and many shall stumble, but these escape from his hand. Edom and Moab, and the chief of the sons of Ammon. And he shall stretch out his hand against the lands, and the land of Mitzrayim shall not escape. And he shall rule over the treasures of gold and silver, and over the riches of Mitzrayim, and Libyans and Cushites shall be at his steps. Then reports in the north shall disturb him, and he shall go out with great wrath to destroy and put many under the ban. And he shall pitch the tents of his palace between the seas and the splendid set apart mountain, but shall come to his end with none to help him. Now at that time Michael shall stand up, the great head who is standing over the sons of your people. And there shall be a time of distress, such as never was since there was a nation until that time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, every one who is found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth wake up, some to everlasting life, and some to reproaches, everlasting abhorrence. And those who have insight shall shine like the brightness of the expanse, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall diligently search, and knowledge shall increase. Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two others standing, one on this bank of the river and the other on that bank. And one said to the man dressed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, how long until the end of these wonders? And I heard the man dressed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, and he held up his right hand and his left hand to the heavens, and swore by him who lives forever, that it would be for an appointed times and half a time. And when they have ended scattering the power of the set apart people, then all these shall be completed. And I heard, but I did not understand. So I said, my master, what is the latter end of these matters? And he said, go, Daniel, for the words are hidden and sealed till the time of the end. Many shall be cleansed and made white and refined, but the wrong shall do wrong, and none of the wrong shall understand. But those who have insight shall understand. And from the time that which is continual is taken away, and the abomination that lays waste is set up, is 1,290 days. Blessed is he who is waiting earnestly and comes to the 1,335 days. But you go your way till the end, and rest and arise to your lot at the end of days. And that is the book of Daniel. Got off to a bumpy start there, but we finished her off. I hope you have had a lovely day. I am headed out.